Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something pretty big, a major strategic play from Tesla.
Yeah, it looks like they're planning to take that really bold, angular Cybertruck design.
The one everyone talked about.
Exactly. And expand it into a whole family of vehicles. It's not just about the pickup anymore.
Right. So this could be Tesla sort of signaling what the next generation of EVs, or at least their next generation, might look like across different segments.
That's the mission today. We want to cut through some of the hype and really analyze the strategy here. What does this expansion mean?
And we're drawing on some pretty solid clues, right? Hints from Tesla's own design chief, Franz von Holzhausen.
Yep, Franz's comments, plus some visual stuff the company itself put out. We're zeroing in on two potential new models, a big cyber SUV and maybe a smaller cyber pickup. Okay, let's set the stage. We have to start with the original Cybertruck because, well, it basically broke all the rules, didn't it?
Oh, totally shattered them. It was built around some really core ideas. That stainless steel exoskeleton was a huge part of it. For toughness, yeah. And supposedly easier manufacturing, though maybe that's debatable now.
We'll get into that. But
yeah,
the exoskeleton, that polarizing look you either love or hate.
Definitely polarizing.
And critically, that advanced 800-volt architecture under the skin.
Now, the 800-volt thing, most people hear that and think faster charging, which is true.
It is true. But the bigger deal, arguably, from an engineering standpoint, is efficiency and thermal management. See, most EVs today run on 400 volts.
Right.
Doubling the voltage lets you cut the current in half for the same power output. PIV, basic physics.
Lower current, so that means less heat generated.
Precisely. Less heat is a massive advantage. You could use lighter, maybe cheaper wiring, less complex cooling systems.
Okay.
And it allows for more sustained performance, especially under load, like towing heavy stuff or driving fast for longer periods without the system overheating and throttling back power.
So Tesla was trying to bake in this idea of like super toughness and efficiency right into the platform.
Absolutely. And now it seems they want to take that core philosophy, or at least the look associated with it, and apply it elsewhere.
Which brings us to the first big one, the Cyber SUV. Taking that same sharp, flat plane design language, but reimagining it for families and cargo.
And this one feels strategically important because it addresses a pretty obvious gap in Tesla's current lineup. A big one.
How so? They have the Model X, right?
They do, but the Model X, for all its tech and those Falcon Wing doors, is really more of a mid-sized luxury crossover. It's quick, it's fancy.
Yeah, but it's not a Suburban or an Expedition.
Exactly. It can't comfortably seat, say, 7 adults for a long trip or tow a really massive trailer like those traditional full-size SUVs can. There's a whole market segment Tesla isn't really playing in right now.
And that's a very profitable segment for the legacy automakers.
Hugely profitable. Think Ford Expedition, Chevy Tahoe, Cadillac Escalade. These things print money. A cyber SUV would go head-to-head with those.
Wow.
And it's not just about consumers. Fleets, utility companies, even government agencies buy tons of these large SUVs. Tapping into that is serious growth potential.
Okay, I get the strategy, but is this real? Do we have more than just like concept art or rumors?
We do have some visual evidence that feels pretty concrete. Tesla put out this video, I think it was called Sustainable Abundance.
Yeah, I remember that, outlining their big picture plans.
Right, and in that video, eagle-eyed viewers spotted scale models of future vehicles. And boom, there it was, a cyber SUV model, clear as day. Really?
What did it look like? Did it just look like a Cybertruck with the cap on the back?
Kinda, but more integrated. It definitely had that unmistakable Cybertruck front end, the light bar, the flat nose, but the proportions were different.
How so?
Well, instead of the Cybertruck's sloping roofline going down to the bed, this model had a much flatter roof that extended way further back.
Ah, okay. More traditional SUV profile.
Exactly. And it ended in a tall, almost vertical tailgate. That screams maximum interior volume, right? Yeah. Maximum headroom for a third row, maximum cargo space, all the stuff you buy a full-size SUV for.
So for you listening, this isn't just Tesla making a bigger car. It's them potentially crashing the traditional family hauler party.
Right. Imagine that Cybertruck look, but with room for the whole family and all their gear, plus the benefits of an EV powertrain, maybe great range, off-road chops.
You'd certainly stand out in the school pickup line.
No question. It brings that electric toughness vibe to the 3-row segment, which in a truly full-size format is still pretty sparse in the EV world.
Okay, that covers the big end of things. But the strategy seems to have another side too, right? The possibility of a smaller Cybertruck.
Yeah, shifting gears to the other end of the size spectrum, a compact Cybertruck variant.
Which makes sense because compact pickups are suddenly really hot again.
They are absolutely booming. Look at the Ford Maverick, the Hyundai Santa Cruz. People love them. They're versatile, easier to park in cities, more affordable.
So a mini Cybertruck would just ride that wave.
It would tap into that for sure. Imagine that same, unmistakable angular styling, but in a package that's way easier to handle in tight urban environments.
Solves the where do I park this giant metal triangle problem.
Exactly. But strategically for Tesla, It's also about accessibility. The main Cybertruck, let's be honest, is a big, fairly expensive vehicle, even in its base forms. A smaller, probably lighter, hopefully cheaper version brings that whole cyber aesthetic and the associated tech vibe to a much, much wider audience. It's an entry point into Tesla trucks.
And didn't Tesla just make a move that makes this timing seem even more logical? They stopped selling the cheapest Cybertruck model, right?
They did. They discontinued the entry-level long-range rear-wheel drive Cybertruck. That's the most affordable way to get into one.
So taking that off the table.
It creates a gap, doesn't it? A pretty noticeable hole at the lower end of their truck pricing.
Yeah.
So if you pull the cheapest version of your big truck, you kind of need something else to fill that volume potential, right? Smaller Cyber pickup fits perfectly. It plugs that affordability gap.
Keeps the truck momentum going, reaches different buyers.
Right. People who want the style and the utility, but maybe don't need to tow 10,000 pounds or need a 6-foot bed. It broadens the demographic considerably.
Okay, so the plan seems clear. A huge SUV for the high-margin family market and a nimble, compact pickup for affordability and urban use. Covers both ends.
That seems to be the what and the why.
But now we hit the really tricky part, the big engineering question mark that hangs over this whole thing. Can they actually build these things efficiently? The production realities.
This is the crux of it, really. This is where cool designs meet the hard realities of mass manufacturing. And Tesla themselves, or at least friends, have hinted pretty strongly.
What's the hint?
The future vehicles in this Cyber family probably won't use the Cybertruck's signature stainless steel exoskeleton.
Whoa, hold on. That feels like a big deal. I mean, isn't the whole bulletproof, super tough identity tied directly to that specific material? If they ditch the stainless steel, are they losing the core DNA?
That is the absolute core tension they're wrestling with, I think. How do you keep the look, that radical flat panel angular aesthetic, if you can't use the material that in many ways dictated that look in the first place?
Because stainless steel is hard to work with.
Notoriously difficult and expensive to scale for high volume auto production. Yes, it's super durable, corrosion resistant, all that. But forming it precisely, repeatedly, quickly, that's the challenge.
Can you break that down a bit? Why is it so hard to stamp stainless steel compared to regular car steel or aluminum?
Okay, a couple of main things. First, tooling. Stainless steel is incredibly hard, so it wears down the stamping dies, the big heavy metal forms that press the sheet metal into shape really, really quickly.
So you're constantly replacing expensive tools, which means downtime and cost.
Exactly. Huge cost, lots of delays. Second is a property called springback. When you try to bend or form stainless steel, especially into sharp angles like on the Cybertruck.
It wants to spring back to its flat shape.
Precisely. It resists being formed and doesn't hold a precise angle perfectly. You need enormous press force and really complex techniques to overbend it just right so it springs back into the desired shape. It's tricky, slow, and expensive to get right consistently.
So maybe okay for the Cybertruck, which might be lower volume, relatively speaking.
Right. They can maybe manage that complexity for one flagship model.
But for a mass market SUV aiming for hundreds of thousands of units or an affordable compact truck, it just doesn't scale economically.
That seems to be the conclusion they're reaching. So the challenge becomes, find other materials. Materials that can give you that sharp, planar look, but can be stamped and formed reliably using more conventional high-speed production methods.
Like what? What are the options?
They'd likely be looking at things like high-strength aluminum alloys, which are easier to form than stainless steel but still offer good rigidity, or potentially even a sort of hybrid approach.
Hybrid?
Yeah, maybe a traditional steel or aluminum body and white structure underneath, like most cars have, but then clad it with angular panels made of something else, maybe a composite, maybe a specially treated aluminum to get the look.
Okay, that brings us back to that provocative question you raised earlier. If the look stays, but the special armor material goes, how does Tesla sell the toughness? What does that cyber name even mean then?
That's the marketing challenge, isn't it? They gain manufacturability, they gain cost control, huge wins for volume, but they lose that tangible link to the bulletproof material.
So they have to rely on other things?
I think so. They'll have to emphasize the structural design under the skin, maybe use special coatings or finishes on the panels, and definitely lean hard on marketing the performance range, acceleration, off-road capability to convey that sense of toughness.
It becomes more about perceived toughness through capability rather than the material itself.
Exactly. They're trading that unique material story for mass market viability. A necessary trade-off, probably, if they want this cyber family to be more than just the original truck.
So if we zoom out and connect all these dots, it really does look like a calculated two-pronged attack.
It feels very strategic. Prong one, the cyber SUV. Go right after the big, profitable, full-size market where they currently have zero presence. High margins, big volume potential.
Prong two, the smaller cyber pickup. Expand the base, bring in new buyers with a more affordable, urban-friendly option that still has that distinctive look.
Covers the market from top to bottom, essentially, under this new design umbrella.
And the umbrella itself, that unique design language, becomes the key differentiator against everyone else, right? Because, Rivian, Ford with the Lightning, they make great EVs, but they look more conventional.
They largely do. They fit within established automotive design norms. Tesla seems to be betting that the Cybertruck's initially polarizing design has now crossed over into being iconic.
Instantly recognizable.
For better or worse, yeah. You see that shape? It's a Tesla Cyber something? In an increasingly crowded EV market, that visual distinctiveness is incredibly valuable branding. They're trying to set a new standard, maybe, for both style and tech across multiple vehicle classes at once.
So for you listening, this is pretty exciting. It means potentially way more choice coming down the line, blending that cutting-edge EV performance we expect from Tesla with these really bold, almost sci-fi designs.
Yeah, choices spanning from potentially a massive family SUV down to a much more nimble, city-focused pickup.
It's a big pivot using that unique look to really drive growth across the board.
It definitely signals a major ambition. Which leaves us with that final thought, that puzzle for you to consider.
Right. Since they likely have to ditch the heavy, hard-to-form stainless steel for these new mass-market cyber models.
What will they use? Given the need to maintain that sharp, rigid look and hit high volume production speeds and costs, what specific real-world materials, maybe advanced aluminum alloys, maybe specific composites, maybe something else entirely, do you think Tesla could realistically choose?
What material best threads that needle between the iconic cyber aesthetic and the practical demands of churning out hundreds of thousands of vehicles to truly compete with Ford and GM?
That's a multi-billion-dollar question they need to answer. What do you think?